initiate chaos theory guarantees that we'll play like lightning shots, sounding like thunder. For every time in the face that it hits us, we're faster. Well, they should know by now. They see the world keeps trying to shake us. It only waits us. The pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. It's in a beautiful darkness. Napoleon another. It's full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. All about the Petty Express. Misdirected from the start. It's a runaway train. I come a freight train. I come a freight train. In a beautiful darkness, the Petty Express. In a beautiful darkness. Hey guys, it's Mo and this is the Petty Express, and we are going over the incident report in the Stephen Stearns case. Now, this is a 200-page document, so it is going to take some time to get through it, but I have looked and it's only supposed to be cloudy now, so pray to the gods of internet that, it continues to be just cloudy and not stormy. Now, where we left off last time abruptly was Jen and Doofus had gotten back together after his, long, arduous quest to get vape juice. And hi, Wolfram, thank you for your modeling mod duties, and Tammy and anyone lurking, welcome, welcome. Now, it is going to get into some gross stuff, some not so great stuff, so I may have to edit what it says a little bit. But we are at the point where Jen and Stephan has come. You know what? I'm just going to call him Stevie because I don't like him. So, and welcome, Beth. So, Jen and Stevie are back together after his long, arduous, hike to get vape juice, and they get back together. And she asked, what had happened. She stated that, Stevie had called her around 10:18 a.m. to let her know that he and Maddie hadn't gone to McDonald's as planned. Now, according to someone, Jen, Maddie, and Stephen had all planned to leave early to have a special McDonald's breakfast, and then he would drop her off at school. But, Jen was very sleepy. She wanted to sleep in. She didn't want to get McDonald's, so she did not go. And then, Stevie tells her that he waited in front of the vape shop, but they didn't open because, places don't open early just because you stand outside them. Ask anyone at Black Friday. It just doesn't work. It's not like when you go to the, animal shelter to pick out your new buddy and you want to take all of them home. No, retailers do not let you in early because you look pathetic or, you need some vape juice. Now, Stevie then said that, yes, there would be, security or surveillance at that store. I then told Jen I was advised at some point, Steve had gotten a flat tire and he wasn't able to go to the school to pick Madeline up. I asked Jen to advise me how she became aware that Madeline had not gone to school that day. And she stated she normally left her residence at approximately 2:30 and waited an hour for her to get out of, school. So that parent pickup line of torturous hour-long waiting. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a secret. Now, you can choose to follow it or not, depending on what's important to you. I like to get out of the line like first 10. So I get there early and I'm parked there about an hour before school, lets out because I want to be the first one out of that joint. That being said, it's still about an hour where you're fiddling with stuff. So, it's up to you what you choose, but that's what I choose to do. Unfortunately for Mr. Mo, I am voluntolding him since he's retired to be the pickup / drop-off person. Or we can make, a schedule. I guess I do have to do it sometimes. But, she said that Maddie was normally the first kid out there, but she wasn't, and she realized that she was holding up the entire parent line. Now, I don't know about your schools, but my son's private school, we have an app that has our car, the make and model, the license plate number, our picture, and they really check. Like, they have asked me when I'm wearing wigs, like, "Okay, what is your name?" Which is kind of embarrassing because now all the teachers know I wear a bunch of wigs. At least they know I'm not doing OnlyFans because I did let it be known that I stream, but not on OnlyFans. I was like, "I do trial stuff, I'm a nerd." But basically, she couldn't pick her up, and she was it was 4:10, so she drove away. Let me tell you what I would do if my child wasn't there and no one knew. That line wouldn't have moved. I would talk to a teacher. Usually there's teachers, making sure kids don't run in front of cars. So you're telling me as a mother, you didn't see your child, you didn't know where she was, and you drove away without asking a single GD person? I mean, this whole story starts out crap and then it just turns more crap because no parent's gonna drive away. Speculation, double indemnity speculation. I think Jen knew. I think Jen knew she was gone. I have thought about doing streams when I'm in the car, but then I felt kind of like an what is it? A millennial, like a real millennial. I don't call myself, but I felt like if I took that step and started streaming in the car when I was waiting in line, that I would be a true millennial and I just couldn't deal with it. Also, I can't figure out how to do it. So Jen wasn't sure if Maddie knew she was going to pick her up, so she drove to, I think, a friend or relative, their workplace located near the school. Now, she checked to see if maybe she could see Maddie walking along that, pathway or, traveling in the direction of that office. When she arrived there, she asked if Maddie had been there, and she was advised that it was generally too early for Maddie to have shown up. She then parked on Hunter's Lane to see if she would see, Maddie walking. Now at approximately 4:30, Jen knew that Madeline should have reached, the office by then. Jen went back to, the office and asked if she was there yet and she was told no. She then contacted, one of Maddie's friends and asked if she was there. She also informed the friends that she had not gone and walked to school. Now, basically, the friends are like, "Hey, Madeline wasn't in any of our classes." Jen began to panic then because she believed something was wrong. That's the moment you panicked, not, your child not. Look, Jen, I don't particularly like Jen. We will get some cursey words when we get to her, body cam interaction interviews. They are just beyond comprehension on how out of it, how absolutely she betrayed the role of a mother. A role of the mother or parent is to be that soft. If you guys have ever gone bowling and they've got the, inflatable rails, that's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be those inflatable rails as our kids learn to, go towards a goal and soften kind of some of the consequences of their normal kid behavior, but correct them as well. Every child deserves a parent. Some parents do not deserve to have children. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, she then asked, "What do you mean we dropped her off at school? She should have walked to school." Now, she wasn't in any of her classes. Jen emailed some of her teacher, and one of them replied saying that Maddie hadn't made it to his class. And according to attendance, he hadn't seen her. Now, I will say I am shocked to hear that. Here's also where I call BS. Now, again, I don't know Florida school systems, and thank you, Unbalanced Equation, for your super chat. I appreciate it. And it says for the Millennial Accessory Fund. Thank you. Thank you so much. But here's where I call BS on this. Now, I don't know, you can tell me in the chat, but my kids' schools, both of them, have an automated system that if my child doesn't show up to school, if they're sick, by about 3 o'clock or so, I usually get a call. But with the private school, I get a call too. So You get automated voice messages, stating the periods that your child was missing. My kids can no longer skip, not that they did, but, they go period by period if you're in a higher level, and I believe she was in middle school. So and there's apps. There's Dojo, there's, Parent Connect, there's everything. Every school has a dozen apps. I call bullshit. You can look right on the app and it'll say she's not been in school. You can look at her attendance record. So again, I call BS for a lot of this. Now, then Jennifer began to, freak out and called 911. I asked if it was common for Maddie to not have her phone, which she said it was common for her to forget because she has ADHD. MLS law, no, I am on page 33 of 200, so probably not. I am getting ready tonight for a all new Mo and Shizzy Disturbed series, and we will be delving into the twin flame universe. And all I got to say is that is 20 pounds of crazy in a 2-pound sack. Holy fazolies. Also, when theater kids turn bad and use their powers for evil, y'all are lucky I just wear wigs and make fun of criminals. Now, basically, this is what she was telling the police. So she did call 911. Maddie has ADHD, is extremely forgetful, and also loses track of time. Now, I asked Jen to explain to me where she had looked for Madeline, and Jen stated after speaking with, someone that she went to the school to confirm her attendance. However, they were already closed. Again, I call bullshit because usually schools are open 4:30, and this school being an intermediate school, I'm guessing it would be open and she could have gone and asked or picked up the damn phone. She then backtracked and drove to the office where she thought Maddie might have been walking towards. Now, after Stevie heard that Maddie didn't show up, he went to the office as well. They all waited for law enforcement to arrive at that office, and they didn't return home until they were done speaking to police. Now, I asked Jen where Madeline's phone was, at the time when she got picked up or gone to pick up Maddie, and tried to look through Maddie's phone while waiting for the police. She was in a panic and handed the phone over to her sister and niece. Now, both the sister and niece didn't see anything weird on Maddie's phone, like, I want to run away. This is terrible. I'm leaving now. So there were no overt signs that she was in the thought process of leaving or running away, at least according to the sister and the niece. Now, I asked Jennifer where they looked for Madeline, and she stated in the Hunter Creek area. They returned approximately 8 or 9 o'clock. Again, 8 or 9 o'clock? Yeah, I don't get it. None of this is ringing true because I would have called the police right then. I wouldn't have waited until 8 damn o'clock. Now, I explained to Jennifer that her residence was going to be secured and everyone was going to have to stay somewhere else for the night. I also explained that, Stevie's car is going to get towed to the sheriff's office for processing because he was the last person to have seen her. I provided Jennifer with my cell phone and asked her to let me know where she and Stephen were going to stay. Stephan. Look, Stephan I don't even want to say his name. Anywho, I'm calling him Stevie. And explained to her that she could call me anytime if she needed to speak with me. Now we get into the second interview of Stephen Stearns. This is where the police officers start looking at his phone. This is where they, get the phone and start seeing the child grossness. Now, on February 28th, 2024, Detective Acosta and I conducted a second digitally recorded sworn interview with Stephen Stearns. Now, what I'm going to do is we'll read the synopsis probably the next Monday when we get into Stearns again. We will watch the body cam footage of this interview, and then we'll continue on in this, reading of the documents. So you can kind of have sort of how this developed and things like that. I'm trying to be a bit more organized, have a structure. It's a foreign thing to me, so I will figure it out. Now, I asked if I had consent to download his phone or if I needed a search warrant to collect the contents. Now, Stevie said it was fine and provided me with his phone PIN number. It wasn't 123. I'm actually pretty shocked. I advised Stevie that while digital forensic was looking through, Madeline's phone, they noticed a lot of communication between Madeline and him. I asked Stephen to explain the relationship between him and Maddie, and Stephen stated he was like a stepfather to her and she thinks of him as a dad. And that is so incredibly monstrous when we know the dynamic of this relationship. We know that she was probably the sad and terrible things. And again, this is my speculation. I am not a doctorologist into anything, but my speculation is Maddie probably thought they were also in a relationship. Not a good one, but he probably, started off saying, "I really love you. I love you. I want to be," she probably thought they were in some sort of pseudo relationship or something. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but with all the communication and everything else, that's what it leads me to conclude. But this is internet speculation. Again, underlined bold speculation. When I asked Stevie what he and Maddie spoke about on FaceTime, he said they would both speak about, themselves, Maddie, and Jennifer. When I asked Steven if he recalled what time he factory reset, oopsie doopsie, not intentionally, you know, just oopsie butterfingers, factory reset his phone. Now, he stated he wasn't sure because he's not a morning person because, having a job is confusing to him, but he does have a lot of collectibles. Oh my God, his parents should auction all that shit off for like a cent or burn it in a fire and send him a video. Oh my God, that's what I would do. I would buy all of that shit, light it on fire. Now, my husband would probably, have a spaz attack because he also likes Warhammer, 40K. But those are evil and have been touched by evil and need, the cleansing of holy fire. Good morning, Nanny Goat and Etsy's sock account. Welcome, welcome. Now, Stephan stated that a update had a weird option about reinstalling everything and he wasn't paying attention, to which I call facts not in evidence. Now, I will tell you, I am technically special needs. Like, I am not good with any sort of technology. I am like your Aunt Edith with a jitterbug. And I, of course, picked this profession where I have to learn technology. However, even when I reinstall, it has never said factory reset. Now, I don't have an Android. Maybe it's different on that. I don't know, but I call bullshit, legal bullshit. And welcome, Jerry Green. So he, picked the wrong button, Butterfingers, coincidentally on the day Maddie disappears. Such a coinkadink. I asked him if he could explain how he did the update, and he stated that it was a push notification that appeared on the top of his phone, and he'd ignored it for a long time. He said this then took him to a page with system, and he clicked something, and I was not sure what happened because he wasn't paying attention. Now, after starting the update, the phone reset. Sure, Jan, sure. I asked Stephen to explain what he did when he returned to get his key fob. He stated he parked, ran inside, got the key fob. So remember how they had time to kill. Maddie didn't want, a McGriddle, and he remembered he forgot his clicker. So they went all the way back to the apartment. Again, sure, Jan. Now, he got back in his vehicle and left the complex for his morning mission. Now, Stephen stated after he dropped Maddie off at about 8:40, he drove directly to the smoke shop and waited approximately 10 to 50 or 5 to 10 minutes before they would open. Now, seeing as how he's not very cute and attractive, he did not get any special, pre-opening deal. I asked Stephen if he went anywhere else after the smoke shop, and he stated he was probably driving towards the direction of home, but did not, recall stopping anywhere. Now, I advised Stephan that his vehicle was seen heading south again at 10 and asked what he had done between 8:40 and 10. Now, he stated he'd been cruising a bit. Well, sir, I hope you enjoyed that cruise because what you're going to be doing in prison is men are going to be cruising for you. So, as George Lucas says, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. So, you in fact will be the cruise buddy. Good luck. Don't drop the soap. Bon voyage, douchebag. Or do drop the soap, actually, because I'm here for Gen Pop justice, allegedly. So he was just cruising, listening to some tunes, some Bryan Adams. He was there for the Boys of Summer or, staring into the sun. Now, I told him that he had originally stated he'd been at the smoke shop for 5 minutes and then headed home. Now, Stevie stated he might have been lingering in the area because he looks like a lurker. Does he not look like a lurker? He looks like someone Stanley Kubrick would hire to look out of the hedges in, the Overlook, hotel. He just does. So I say he's a professional lurker. Well, he's like, "Look, I lingered. I tried to get in, but I did, make my way home." Now, I advised him that I needed help explaining why there was an hour and 20 gap in which he stated he wasn't sure what to say since it had been a normal day. Yeah. Well, he's not a morning person. He doesn't know, time and such. It is a construct he is not aware of. Now, he stated again that the smoke shop was supposed to open soon and he made his way there, but he was not in any rush. I mean, he didn't have a job or nothing. He again stated he was not able to explain the time delay since he had not gone anywhere in particular. I did ask where he went after the smoke shop and he said home. I asked Stephan if the smoke shop was 10 minutes from his residence, to which he stated it was about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, I reminded him he had originally stated it was a 10-minute drive, and he advised me that time was not a strong suit of him. Yeah, neither is morality, decency, not being a monster. I mean, you got a lot of things you can work on in prison, boyo. But yeah, time's not his thing. Now, Detective Acosta asked Stephan what time the smoke shop opened, to which he stated 10. Now, Detective Acosta then informed him that if it opened at 10 and he dropped Maddie off at 8:40, he was going to be waiting an hour before they were scheduled to open. Now, he stated he didn't think it would be open, but he got there early enough for them to open. He is a late blooming child prodigy, isn't he? He stated he had arrived about 15 to 20 minutes before they opened. No, 8:40, you drop her off, you get there at 9-ish. That's an hour, you idiot. Now, he then stated he waited a few minutes after 10 for them to open, but realized they weren't opening, and he left. Now, Detective Acosta stated he had not waited past 10 because his vehicle was heading southbound on John Young Parkway at 10. He stated his vehicle was still in front of the smoke shop at 10, waiting for them to turn the open sign, and I advised him this wasn't making sense. Yes, you are not Schrodinger Stevie. You can't be at the vape shop and driving down John Young Parkway at the same time. Have you gotten Sarah Boone's Schrodinger's, drunk, where she's tipsy, not drinking, totally smashed, and, unintentional? Yeah. But time isn't his thing, so let's give him, a little bit of a break. I mean, how would we, expect him to time? Now, according to him, he was trying to help us the best he could, but he's a moron. I reminded him that, he had stated and he asked how he was there at 10 when it was approximately a 10-minute drive from where he dropped Maddie off. Now, he stated he had taken no particular route to the smoke shop, but he made his way there. I mean, it sounds like me when I'm doing directions before we got, MapQuest, like I totally did it wrong. Now, I asked him if he had issues with his memory or if he had eaten lead paint. That's not in there, but, a Tommy Boy reference is always appreciated. He stated that he was diagnosed with ADHD and didn't have his phone on him and was not sure of the time. Now, I asked if there was a clock in the car, and he stated he believed there was, but, it's not his car. Welcome, welcome, Denise. Then he stated he was 90% sure he was at the smoke shop, parking lot around 10. Now, I asked Stephan if he returned to get his key fob, if Madeline had gone inside with them, that quick trip back to get the clicker. Uh, he stated she had not because she was already asleep. I asked him again about the location where he got his flat tire. Now, he stated everything looked the same and he was drawing a blank about any specific business and only recalled pulling into some sort of plaza or, parking area. Now, he stated he was driving toward John Young Parkway and US 192 when that occurred. He recalled going to a Target on US 192 near Walmart and was going to go to the House of Cards to get Pokemon cards because important stuff, vape juice, and gotta catch 'em all, but got a flat tire somewhere before he got to Oak Street. Now, he wasn't sure how long he took to take the tire or change the tire, but he believed he returned home at approximately, 2:30. Now, he again apologized and stated that his brain didn't work properly because he had ADHD. And as someone who has it, screw you. No, with ADHD, it is harder for us to time manage, but it is possible if you use, discipline, patterns, and self-control. It's why I'm doing all of my scheduling and blocking, because I am aware that I do struggle with time management, but it's not an excuse to not do anything to better yourself. So I have CRPS and ADHD. Doesn't mean I don't make steps or take steps to better myself in spite of what I have. Okay. Now, while speaking with Stephan, I noticed that he was wearing a blue shirt. In the videos from earlier in the day, he was observed wearing a red shirt. Now, Stephan stated he had not changed clothes since the previous morning and did not believe he showered either. Ugh. God, gross, disgusting, lurking PDF file. And you don't shower? And you don't do deodorant? Well, I don't know if you're going to be the bachelorette of the ball in prison. I'm hoping they do make you wear a deodorant. Ugh. Now, he was then asked if he could have pictures taken of his hands, which he advised was fine. Now, in the pictures, I noticed he had a significant scar, approximately 2 to 3 inches long on the top part of his right wrist. He also had minor scratches to the top part of his left hand. I was informed that his phone was going to be downloaded overnight and he would probably not get it until the following morning, which he stated was fine. This absolute dimwit dork fest. I would hope he'd be good with some sort of computers, but he thought factory reset was going to, clear everything. But it wasn't. Now, on February 28th at 2024 at approximately 1 o'clock, I left, the residence. Now, officers of the Kissimmee Police Department stayed on scene and assured that no one re-entered or, messed with anything. Detective Acosta maintained visual contact with a silver Lincoln MKZ with basically the car he had used. It was towed by Ace Record to Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations Center. Detective Acosta also took his cell phone to the forensic unit, where Sergeant Darko Stemenik immediately began processing the device. Now, on February 28th, 2024, multiple detectives within the Orange County Sheriff's Office responded to the Central Operations Center and began assisting with the investigation. Several orders were authorized, including blank and blank. So there were search warrants for different social media things, different things they needed to find. They've obviously redacted whatever they needed from that. A search warrant for the silver Lincoln tracking orders on the vehicle's tags, both Jen and his, a search warrant on Maddie's residence, a search warrant on her Discord account, Google search warrant for her email, and, oh, God bless it, I have to say the stupid word, the infotainment system for GPS locations in the Lincoln. Now, during this time, it was discovered that Jen's vehicle had been driven on February 27th, 2024, between the hours of 3:27 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. around US 20 or 129. Now, Jennifer's vehicle had also traveled February 28th, 2024, between the hours of 4:42 a.m. and 10:50 a.m. between US 120 or 192 and south to Northport, Florida. Unfortunately. But if it helped catch this monster, I'm good. And this actually had, a chain of custody. It's amazing. If they bring out red Solo cups, though, I'm done. I'm out. Now, after Stevie's phone had been successfully downloaded the morning of February 28th, 2024, Sergeant Stamanik within the Digital Forensic Unit contacted Corporal Avila to advise him that there was child grossness in this cell phone. And even more gross, during a review of the pictures, we observed several images containing Maddie doing acts, all the acts, anything you can imagine. It was photographed. She was photographed with no clothing on. It was gross. In a twist of fate that helps lock up this monster, Maddie was clearly identifiable, and Gross McGrossface has a very distinctive smeckle, so it was definitely him. So thank God that he is never going to be out. Now, in a picture located on Stevie's phone, there is a black mark near the shaft. So it is distinctive. Now, at this time, the Kissimmee Police Department was advised of the filings, and Detective Corporal Brandon Ilgen, KPD, and Detective Mark Morris, KPD, responded to Central Operations Center. The search warrant for Jennifer's residence was served on February 28, 2024, at approximately 800 hours. In the residence, detectives were able to locate several items observed in the background of these pictures. So there were distinctive blankets, there were distinctive things that they could tell that this absolutely happened in this location with these two people. I am so incredibly horrified about what he did, but I'm glad that these detectives found him. And look, y'all, I'm not forcing you to pray or nothing, but if you believe in the universe, the spaghetti monster in the sky, or just thoughts and prayers, there are detectives all over this country that have to go and see and wade through what these monsters do, the after effect, the evidence. Pray for those people who have to find these monsters. I can't imagine what they have to see. I can't imagine what they have to carry, but doggone it. Thank you for doing what you do. I know it's not easy. I couldn't imagine. But thank you for catching these monsters and putting them away and having to see these absolute horrific images. I can't imagine, and I hope they have mental health help. I hope they have ways to detox and get this out. So they basically found things that matched the pictures located in his phone. Now, while conducting the investigation early on the afternoon of February 28th, have a wonderful lunchtime, Wolfram. Thank you for being a wonderful mod. Members of, Jen's family requested to travel to Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations Center to attend the sheriff's press conference. Now, Jen and Stephan were offered a ride by Detective Hunt and Acosta. They agreed to the ride and were driven separately. Now, upon their arrival, Detective Corporal Ilgen, Detective Morris, and I made contact with Jennifer to try to let her know what had happened, what they'd found. Now, as we spoke to Jennifer, members of the Violent Crime Squad, VCS, continued to canvass the area for video surveillance. Now, prior to finishing the interview with Jennifer, I was advised that the VCS had located a video of Stevie discarding something in a trash compactor located in his apartment complex on February 26th at about 7:30. Now, in this video, they observed a female wearing a green sweater in the front passenger seat of the vehicle. She appeared to be completely slumped over with her mouth ajar. And this is also one of the horrendously sad things is that, the detectives and people who have looked into this feel that Maddie was already gone at this point. And it's just heartbreaking. And he's such a fucking stupid criminal. I just, everywhere has surveillance. You're not going to get away with anything, especially when you're a hopeless, useless, jobless doofus. Now, at this time, Detective Bellardes established custody of that trash compactor until the waste management company arrived for their regular, scheduled pickup. Detective DeBarles then followed the trash compactor to a place in Florida where it was emptied. Contact was made with the waste management district manager, Antonia Robin, who provided a separate area for the compactor to be emptied. Now, Antonia provided an approximate date and time that Stephen Stearns was seen throwing a tire into the compactor. Based on that information, he was also able to provide an approximate location where the tire could be located in the contents of the compactor. The Orange County Sheriff's Office Forensic Unit responded to the location when was able to locate intact tread of tires. They also advised they matched the tread pattern of the rear passenger tire of Stephen's vehicle. In the close proximity to the tire, the crime scene investigators located a white trash bag that contained a black backpack that appeared to have a purple Hawaiian print and a white crock. Yeah, we'll get to the pictures. I wanted to, since I didn't dig deeply into this case, to kind of give you guys an overview and then go into the interviews. And I am going to dig into Koberger. That is probably going to be homework for tomorrow. So I will start doing the Koberger documents as well. I'm just trying to figure out which schedule works for me. So we might have a little hit or miss, but I'm getting it going. The whole new day, I'm going to be organized, allegedly, unintentionally. Now, based on this information, it was determined that both the backpack and the contents were Maddie's. The forensic unit collected the tire, the backpack, and the crock. Now, upon viewing the evidence, it was determined the Kissimmee Police Department would take the lead, and the case was subsequently turned over. The Orange County Sheriff's Office remained active in more of a supportive role. Now, Detective Corporal Ilgen and Morris conducted a video and audio recorded sworn interview of Stevie at Central Operations. Now, after his interview, the Orange County Sheriff's Forensic Unit responded to the interview room in room 1 in Central Operations Center in reference to a DNA search warrant for, Stevie. Now, during this warrant, CSI took several pictures of his body and his schmeckle because it's distinctive. Maybe don't be a gross, disgusting, corroded trash water, human being. If you have a distinctive schmeckle, maybe don't. Maybe don't photo it. But I'm glad you did because now everyone knows what a monster you are. But I wish you'd never even come into Maddie's life. All righty, let's see here. So basically, in a schmeckle lineup, his schmeckle, was consistent with his. So also the right scar on his wrist appeared in some of these videos. So he really in no way had any way to fight at least the child grossness charges. Now, he was taken into custody for the arrest warrant authored by the detectives with Kissimmee Police Department for child grossness. And we can go over those, but there are so many things that I can't say If you guys want to go over those, let me know in the chat or in comments for replay. I particularly am not wanting to, just because there's so many things I have to kind of change the meaning of, and it bothers me to change the meaning because it takes away the gravity of what happened. Maybe it'll be a Rumble exclusive. I don't know. On February 29th, 2024, the Orange County Sheriff's Office continued to assist Kissimmee Police Department by still canvassing and searching areas that he had traveled. Now, a search warrant for Jennifer's vehicle was authored and served on February 29th, 2024. On March 1st, 2024, Detective Leonard Jones responded to the area of Destination Parkway and Jongyun Parkway to canvass for evidence. Now, during that time, he responded to the Holiday Inn Club Vacations that's on Jongyun Parkway to review surveillance. Detective Jones observed that at approximately 9:40, the target vehicle, the silver gray Lincoln, turned onto the above business property from Emissary Lane and proceeded to their parking garage. While in the parking garage, a male wearing a dark hat, red shirt, and tan pants exited the vehicle and opened the trunk. He then walked over to the front passenger seat of the vehicle, opened the door, and proceeded to carry, God damn him, what appeared to be a limp body into the trunk of the vehicle. So, yeah, Maddie was gone and she never has to deal with this monster again. But that is not the silver lining that we wanted to have at all. Now, on March 1st, 2024, the Kissimmee Police Department issued a bulletin requesting information from the public. Now, in this bulletin, Kissimmee Police Department advised that good old Stevie the Demon had changed a flat tire in the area of US 192 and Old Hickory Tree Road. Now, Kissimmee Police Department later received a tip stating she had observed a male matching his description and a vehicle changing that a tire and directed them to the location where she had seen this. Now, deputies with Osceola County Sheriff's Office responded to the scene and heartbreakingly noticed or located what appeared to be a female wearing a green sweater, blue jeans in a wooded area. Detective Ilgen and Morris responded to the area where they confirmed that that was, in fact, Madeline. Now, on March 1st, 2024, at approximately 7:16, I spoke with teletype operator Minusco, and she removed the missing person alert. So these are all the warrants and everything else that have gone through, the missing person, all of that. So that's kind of why it's a long. Okay, so these are when they have found this cell phone, all the grossness on the cell phone, they start talking to everyone. On February 28th, 2024, at approximately 7:30 a.m., so this is Detective Julie Junko responded to an area in reference to assisting Detective Maria Tagler with a search warrant at a residence. The above residence was located, so this is Jen's. When I arrived on the scene, Orange County Sheriff's Office Corporal Keith Dale and detectives from Kissimmee Police Department were securing the scene. I assisted in maintaining scene security until OCSO Forensic Unit responded and processed the residence. Securing a scene? Waiting for forensics? Not using solo cups? My shock and the horror. Now, prior to conducting the search, detectives at the site were notified by detectives at OCSO General Operations Building that there was evidence of child grossness towards Maddie, the 13-year-old victim, at the hands of Stephan Stearns, the suspect, and now the convict. the adjudicated guilty. Now, evidence was located on Stern's cellular device, and some of the, grossness appeared to have occurred right in Jen's house, right under her nose, though speculatively, I say she knew all about it, or she had hints. She knew, allegedly, in Minecraft. That's my speculation. You cannot be this dense. You cannot. Again, what man says, "Hey, go sleep with my 13-year-old daughter. I need to get some sleep." Most men would say, "No, no, hell no. No, no. That's inappropriate. I'm not doing that. Don't. That's not the relationship that I should even be. That's a crossing the line." Now, contact with the victim's aunt and victim's grandfather. At approximately 9:50, the aunt and grandfather were approached by detectives on the scene, and I spoke to them, and a portion of our conversation was audio recorded by Detective Matt Chang. And below is a synopsis of the conversation. Both the aunt and the grandfather were requesting an update and said that detectives had already interviewed them, but they didn't have additional information to provide that wasn't already known. Now, they were both visibly emotional, absolutely. And I think there needs to be a very big distinction. And I know none of you in chat would do this, but to the a-holes that decided to, intrude on a family's grieving, to leave them, mean tweets, rudeness. I get why we all have a hate boner for Jen, because this was hinky and stupid from the start. But the extended family, I don't get why they got so much hate. I really and truly don't. Don't reach out to people who are victims or related. I don't know why anyone would do that, but apparently we got a lot of people that need a lot of chores, because if you're, lacking purpose enough that you need to go on the internet and be a keyboard warrior, I got things you can dust. I have carpets that need to be cleaned. I have cats that need to be brushed. I got chores for you. Do some damn chores. Stop getting on the internet and, spouting off. If you want to do something good for the world, sending a tweet isn't. Being kind and, talking to people in Walmart or giving a compliment out, that's how you help people. Just saying. You don't have to, put your hot take on the internet. You could just go and help your local community by not being in class, what do we say? A douchebag. Yes, do not write letters to judges or talk shit about the victim's family. Now, I think there needs to be a complete and utter distinction, a line in the sand between Jennifer Soto and the extended family. Because predators can hide things from extended family. And if your family has never dealt with this kind of manipulation, this kind of child grossness, you might not see the signs. So I have total grace and understanding for the extended family. I do not extend that to Jennifer Soto. But I think when you guys see the interview with her, you'll understand why I do not extend that grace to her. And they were really concerned about, what was going on with Maddie. Now, the aunt didn't believe that she would run away because she didn't believe that, Maddie was going to do that. And they described her recent birthday celebration and really didn't know a reason why Maddie would be upset or want to leave, want to run away. Now, to their knowledge, she had not been in communication with any of the family members since she'd been reported missing. Oh, well, that's fine, but I'm talking more about this case when people decided to get into their, timelines and Facebooks and Insta whatevers and call them, everything but a child of God. Again, just because you're on the internet doesn't mean everyone needs to know your hot take. And of course, I understand the hypocrisy of me, basically sitting here giving you my hot takes. So I am a hypocrite, I'm not going to lie, but I don't expend my time going into other people's stuff and stirring up drama. No worries. No worries. Oh, crap it spackle. I was supposed to add rumble. I suck out loud at this. Oh my gosh, you guys. One of these days, I'm going to be professional. I was so proud of myself too. I've been like checking off things off my list, and I didn't check off the Rumble thing. So sorry, Rumble started super late, and I'll just upload the stream. Sorry, Rumblers. I'm a work in progress. Like Sarah Boone, my scars are also golden. Now, this is the search warrant, and I do believe there are photos with this, but I want to go through the photos and make sure there's nothing ick in them before I show them. So this is them kind of explaining where they found certain things. Now, in room number 4, now this would be the room that Madeline was supposed to go, cuddle snuggle with old Stevie in this room. At approximately 11:30, I assisted in the search of the room in the residence on the second floor, identified by a chrome number 4 on the outside of the door. Now, inside that room, I located a black backpack, which had one orange bottle of, quote, slow, low motion, end quote. Ew. Why do these have such a. Can anyone just get KY jelly? Could we just go back to the normal stuff? Okay, Jason, it's going to take a bit because between Stearns and Koberger, and researching Delphi and all the other things, it might take a bit, but I want to start shining a light on this. These survivors, these victims shouldn't have to bear all of the burden of, getting these monsters named and shamed. In the back of the bottle, it was identified as self-love cream. I photoed the item and pointed it out to the crime scene investigator, and she collected it. Jem says, "This is what makes me rage. There was this room 4, and it was for, pig crap who didn't live there, but Maddie had to sleep in a living room in a shared house." Yeah, I don't get anything. I don't get this. I really just do not get what was going on in this house. Now we move to Maddie's designated space. So this kind of room divider makeshift space that she had no bed, she couldn't sleep, but she could definitely, go into the living room and pretend she had a room. Now at approximately 11:50, Detective Leonardo Sari and Detective Matthew Chang made contact with Detective Tagler and Detective Kyle Cole. How many detectives? Uh, feel like I'm an airplane. Over, under, Captain. Now, they were all talking via the phone. Through a phone call and texting, they showed us the photographs of, the abuse stuff. Now, the purpose of viewing this was to ensure that the correct evidence was collected and preserved to the best of our abilities. We examined the clothing worn by both Madeline and Stearns, along with, locating items such as sheets, blankets, and other articles of clothing. They were able to identify some of them as seen in some of the photographs in the downstairs area that was previously described by detectives as Madeline's sort of space. Now, the space appeared to be the living room of the apartment that was turned into a bedroom with folding designers between the bedroom space and the kitchen/dining room. This area was located on the far right of the apartment's first floor when you enter the front door. As a mother, why the hell would you put your child near the front door? If anything goes down, she's right there. And you have an empty room for your douchebag do-nothing boyfriend? Contact with Ray Ortiz, operation manager for security. Now, at the conclusion of the search, I made contact with Corporal Evan Avila through the phone. Now, Corporal Avila notified me that front office staff of the complex had been working on providing video surveillance of it. An unknown staff member stated the process to provide a video was going to take approximately 6 hours due to how it had to be viewed and downloaded from the system. Now, at approximately 1:45, I made contact with, someone there who identified himself as the operation manager for security and provided him with my, direct agency number and requested he notify me immediately when the surveillance video could be collected. I did not hear back from him, but later found out he had been communicating with other detectives. Now, after speaking to that security person, he went back to the central operations building. While there, I maintained security outside the interview room where Stearns was located and waiting to be interviewed. KPD detectives interviewed Stearns, and I monitored a portion of the interview electronically from a room nearby. And at the conclusion of the interview, I assisted KPD detectives with a collection of photographs, clothing, DNA evidence from his person based on a signed warrant. He also located the Schmeckel freckle. God bless these cops that have to take this picture. I mean, dear God, I hope they don't have to do like top, bottom, side, far view, close view with a measuring thingy. Because that's usually how they take crime scene photos, and I'd just be like, "Nope. No, no, no." And then I'd have to take a shower with Purell. Now, they located that, but they also, in one of the photographs, compared the mark, and Stearns was wearing a red and white Deadpool t-shirt, which was seen in multiple photographs of grossness. Now, Ivory Smith collected the evidence, and the collection was conducted on the same audio and video recording as his interview. Now, at some point while Stearns was in the interview room, I took a vape pen from him, which I discarded in the trash. Now, evidence examination. So we're getting into some tough stuff. We need a puppy kitten break because I just hope he just goes into a corner and rots. I don't know. I keep thinking up creative ways that Gen Pop justice allegedly could happen, and then I feel bad about myself because I shouldn't, in theory, even as the world's worst Christian, be plotting, revengeation. But if God would like to use any of my ideas for his, smiting, I'm willing to focus group, allegedly in Minecraft.
When the world feels like a dumpster dive and humans forget how to thrive, take a break, just you and me, with a puppy and kitten, wild and free. Pause and purrs, let's drift away to a land where tails wag and play. No more noise, just gentle muse in our furry four-legged cruise.
Hello, everyone. Back, but we needed a puppy kitten break because, ugh. So, they were looking for all the photographs to ensure all potential evidence was located. There was photographs with his face visible and his tongue visible. God, just incinerator, allegedly. Now, again, I am just happy to see how these detectives were bulldogs, how they made sure every dot was covered, every T was crossed to keep this man off the street, to make sure this monster never has an opportunity to hurt anyone again. I mean, it is refreshing to see multiple police departments, multiple agencies working together, getting this done so this child can be remembered and this monster can be forgotten. Now, on February 29th, 2024, Corporal Avia requested I gather information on the trash collection procedures at the complex that, Stearns and Jen lived at. Now, at approximately 10 o'clock, I made contact with Waste Management and spoke to Cree, who was unable to access information for the address. Now, she transferred me to Ray from the Florida Area Waste Management Commercial Department. And he said that they collected the compactors, there, and the trash would be taken to the Orlando transfer station serviced by them. And it's unknown how long the trash would remain there before it got transferred either to the Pine Ridge landfill or the Vista landfill. Now, WM was the residential hauler for all Osceola County, meaning they picked up trash from all individual residents. They also hauled for any commercial property within the city limits of Kissimmee, Florida. Now, Ray said he was the only Ray in Florida. Okay, I love that they have to write this down. Like, look, I'm Ray. I'm the only Ray. If you want a Ray, you got to ask for me. But he didn't provide a phone number where he could be directly connected. Sounds like every time I call a service number. But he provided a more direct number for the commercial department. Now, on March 1st at approximately 9:22, Corporal Avia asked me to respond to, command ERT. So this is the command post when they were looking for Maddie, when they were trying to get things together so they could have people canvass. While I was there, I was the liaison between the ERT and the Criminal Investigation Division. At approximately 12:40, I was noted that the ERT had located large bones in a wooded area. I notified, Corporal Avia, who was with Corporal Alexander Richards from OCSO, Homicide Unit. Now, Corporal Richards instructed me to call the medical examiner's office and show them the bones in order to determine whether I have no idea. No, I have no places. Look, I love Florida, but if it's not in Indiana, I have no earthly clue. As I have told you guys, I do directions like this, and being dyslexic, both could be L. So generally, I always wear my wedding ring so I can, know which L is true. That is not a lie. I struggle greatly, like with my and I know we're getting off topic, but I just need a minute. Oh, Kissimmee. Sorry. Sorry, all the Florida people, I have been annoying. Like, even my remote, it takes me a long time to figure out which button to push, because I don't quite understand what arrows mean. It's a weird thing. Like I said, first world problems. What are you gonna do? And now I collected the photograph of bones and sent them to the ME. Now, per Dr. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Y'all, chat, what are we thinking about this? Zadwowski? Zadwowski. Zydowski. Look, that's the best I can do, sir, and I'm just going to call you doctor from now on. They were not human. Now, the ME stated the bones still needed to be collected and submitted to them. And at approximately 1:02, I contacted the forensics and told them to go out and pick up the bones. Now, ERT units located a camera at, this address, and I sent this information to Corporal Avia, and he requested to have a unit respond to check cameras. The Violent Crime Squad located footage of Stern's vehicle at the above address and then were able to trace him to other nearby locations, where I was told Stearns was seen moving Maddie from the front seat of his vehicle to the trunk. ERT located a pair of underwear and a dress in the same wooded area as the bones were located in, but more to the south, and CSI Janik collected both items. Now, on March 1st, 2024, they received confirmation that Maddie, unfortunately, had been located in Osceola County. Okay, so this is one of the people who called in tips. These are the tips. Yeah, it's just one of those things. I am admittedly bad at spatial awareness. I can become Mr. Mo. for courtesy and stuff, will walk on the, outer side of the sidewalk. But since I must have had a past life as a sheepdog, but a really demonic one, I always tend to like walk into him and then try to push him off the sidewalk. Not intentionally, full Sarah Boone, but he has learned to kind of just keep me on the right direction because I tend to veer. Also, I can't judge doorways, so I end up smacking the crud out of myself. So on February 28th, 2024, at approximately 7:40, a deputy spoke with a caller who stated she might have seen, Maddie on Monday, February 26th, 2024. On February 28th, 2024, I spoke with a caller who stated she might have seen the missing juvenile on Monday, February 26th, 2024. Now, the caller stated on February 26, 2024, at approximately 1:30, she was driving on Hunter Creek Boulevard and noticed a young girl crossing the street. Maria stated that the female was wearing a green hoodie and carrying a backpack in one hand and a plastic bag in the other. Now, she was unsure the color of the pants that she was wearing. It might have been white or black. She also stated that the backpack was cream colored and her shoes were white. And part of me wishes that it had been Maddie that we found her, but a lot of kids wear hoodies, and I'm proud of this woman. I didn't put her name out there for calling it in and, trying to be of help because it wasn't Maddie. We know that, but we do know, that she was found and people were trying to help. That's the part that I keep hold of. On February 28th, 2024, at approximately 7:30, uh, this is the K9 detective. Now, they were to do a sweep of 2 vehicles for human remains due to the fact that K9 Archer is a good boy. I hope he got bacons. He is trained in human remains detection. He then responded to the southern fenced-in parking lot of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. At 8:05, he conducted a sweep of the first vehicle, which was a 2010 silver Lincoln bearing Florida tags. Now, K9 Archer did not give a final alert to the Lincoln. At 10:10, he conducted a sweep of the 2022 Nissan sedan. Now, upon conducting the sweep, he showed a change of behavior, then gave a final alert by the rear passenger wheel well, and he informed Corporal Richards of the results. Now, this is confusing to me because we know that Stevie took the Lincoln and by all accounts and on security camera, took her and put her in the back of his car. However, the dog did not alert, according to this, supplemental report, on his car, but did alert on Jen's. That is very interesting. I know people have strong thoughts about whether, canine detection is more trainer led than, them actually detecting. This was a big thing in the Madeline McCann case. There were hits from a cadaver dog in the apartment that family had stayed in, but the family insists that the dogs were responding to the trainers. So I've heard arguments on both sides. I'm not a dogologist, so I don't know. Now, again, notice reports, writing things down, getting things done. Who knew this existed? This will be for getting the surveillance video. This is a breakdown of the surveillance video when this human dumpster corroded water trash can person threw all of Maddie's belongings away. Well, her important stuff. And when I say important stuff for a teen, I'm talking about, your backpack, your Chromebook, your stuff like that. Alrighty. So on February 26, 2024, at about 7:30, videotapes that captured the trash compactor on the property show a male determined to be, Stearns, wearing a red t-shirt and a dark color hat worn backwards. He's a baller. Sure. worn backward, arrived in a silver Lincoln sedan. Now, Stearns threw a white trash bag filled with items inside the trash compactor before pulling away. A female believed to be Madeline was visible in the front seat. Now, her head was visible tilted to her left shoulder, and her mouth was open. Now, she was belted into the seat, and she was belted so she wouldn't slide over, in my opinion. So she would look alive enough. He does have some cunning. He's just stupid as hell. So he did think that he was going to get away with this. He's like, everyone, they'll see her on the video that I dropped her off and she didn't come home. Again, when you play this scenario out, I don't know what the hell Stearns thought he was going to get away with. So play it out. You say Maddie ran away. Do you want to know what galvanizes people more than anything? And because you're not a parent, you're a predator, you don't know this. Something happening to a child, any child, I don't care, race, creed, religion, anything. You hurt or a kid is missing, it galvanizes everyone. So you picked the wrong thing to do. Now at about 8:19, the Lincoln returns at the front gate where the driver Stearns interacted with the security guard before being allowed to enter the gate at the front of the complex. And I'm sure that security guard holds guilt for not realizing anything. But on the surface, you probably don't think about it. I mean, if Maddie typically slept on her way to school, if, because of her recent medication change, it was harder for her to wake up. I mean, it's not like everyone has a sixth sense and we can, in hindsight, try to, we can say, oh, if they had just known, if this and that. In hindsight, everything looks clear. On a regular day, it just looks like a kid maybe sleeping or zonked out in the car seat. I mean, the times I would turn around and see youngest most feral drooling on his seat, I mean, it's not so atypical that it's going to draw attention. So he does have cunning. He just is stupid. And God gave him a flat tire so we could find his ass. Now, due to difficulties with wireless cameras at the rear of the complex, there was no further video of the vehicle entering or exiting the back gate. Now, reviewing the front gate video, I did not observe the Lincoln come back through the front gate between 8:30 and 4 o'clock. Now at 4:35, multiple cameras captured Stearns arriving again to the trash compactor in the silver Lincoln. Now Stearns appears to be wearing a blue shirt now with a dark color hat worn backwards, but no shower because he's a gross. Now Stearns walked to the compactor, opened the door, and returned to his vehicle. He removed a damaged tire that appeared to be the tread of the tire with no walls. Now he threw the tire into the compactor. I submitted the video, which I captured on my cell phone to evidence.com under this number. All videos were exported to a USB, which will be provided to the Kiss Me. Look, I don't know. I haven't been to Florida in a while. I need to go to Florida so I can say the names right. Wonder if I can make that a business expense. I'll have to talk to my accountant. Look, I'm terrible at pronunciating things from Florida. I must go down there and learn how the natives do. So this is also a supplemental report, but it really does make me incredibly happy that this much effort was put in. Basically, they went through all the apartments. They talked to people. They asked, have you seen her? Every single apartment, canvassing, giving out flyers. They were not going to let this go. He made contact with some of the neighbors, returned to their residence, did consensual, recorded interviews, and uploaded it to that. Now, the summary is that Barbara and Gerald have spent their winters and spring at the complex for the last 18 years. Snowbirds. And no, Jen, Maddie's grandfather, and, had resided with, knew that, douchey McDoucheface had resided with the mother and helped raise Maddie. Now, a few years ago, Stearns had, uh, or the biological father of Maddie had moved out. And now, according to the neighbors, I don't believe they're married. I believe it's boyfriend and girlfriend, but they were under the assumption that Jennifer and Stearns had gotten married and he was Maddie's stepfather. Now, I do believe that he introduced himself as Maddie's stepfather, so it's not a wrong assumption for them to think, oh, they got married. Now, they believed that old Stearns worked out of town because when they arrived at the complex in December 2023, they did not see him until or they had not seen him until approximately a week ago. Now, Barbara and Gerald were unsure of what kind of vehicle he rode, but they had seen him a couple of days back going into Jen's white vehicle. Now, they described Stephen as a tall white male with a full beard, and he generally wears a baseball cap backwards. Now, according to Barbara and Gerald, Maddie never, point blank, never walked home from school. Jennifer always drove her to and from every day. So this was not in order. However, they did not remember seeing her return from from school on Monday or Tuesday. They believed the last time they saw her was Saturday or Sunday when she was walking the family dog, which caught their eye because usually, I guess, Stearns or Jen did that. But I don't see Jen or Stearns giving a crap enough about life or anything to get up off the damn couch to take the dog out. They're not morning people. They're not doing, working people. I know Jen works, but Stearns didn't. So, and seemed to just mooch off people like a parasite. Now, on Monday night, Barbara did observe through her window 3 people at, Jen's door. Now, one of them was an adult male, one was an adult female, and she was unsure about the third one. She saw one of them, uh, it says one of them hi someone, but maybe hug is what they meant. Now, that caught Barbara's eye because the family doesn't have many visitors. Now, they described, Maddie as a sweet girl who was adored by her grandfather, and she was somewhat of a homebody and very polite. Now, at the conclusion of the area canvass, he went back to the clubhouse, met with detectives, reviewed surveillance videos from the dumpster area and the front gate, to include a video in which a security guard made contact with Stearns on the morning of the incident, and the security guard was later identified. Now, Alex was contacted and responded to the clubhouse where he was interviewed by Detective Kyle, and he was in presence at that. So again, you have police districts, you have a bunch of detectives, and they see a little girl in a field where you just dumped her. The fires of hell will not stop these people from making sure you're in prison. All right, so this is just explaining that they got all of the things out of the trash compactor, like I already told you. These are the supplemental reports. Again, it's just refreshing to see supplemental reports, things put in writing, definite, things that are actually happening and put on, full display, chain of evidence, things like that. This is really, really helpful. Now, again, I just want you to notice they went through every apartment building, asked questions, marked where they didn't answer the door, went back, tried to talk to these people. Nothing motivates people more than getting justice for a child. And Stearns, you picked the wrong people because you thought you would snuff Maddie out. You thought you would, snuff her light out and no one would see the grossness. But what you in fact did was lit candles all over the world, all over Florida, all over everywhere, the internet. And we are shining a light, and we're going to remember Maddie, but we're going to call out your crimes first, and then we're never going to mention you again. We will name, shame, and forget. But we will remember Maddie. So I'm just impressed. They went through every single door, every single one. Jem, perhaps the medication they gave Maddie made her too tired to do anything, but because she was staying at grandparents', she had a cleaner mind and was able to go out and walk the dogs. That is a good thing. That is a fair point. I do know that there was um, Jen had said earlier in the documentation that her new medicine made her groggy of the morning and, hard to wake up. Again, the fact that she was on such heavy medication is also bothersome, and I speak not as I'm not hypocritical about this. My boys are on ADHD medication, but I'm also diligent at watching their behavior, looking for warning signs, and I wouldn't hesitate to call the doctor if my child could barely wake up in the morning, was nearly zombified. That is obviously the either the not the right titration or not the right medication for Maddie. But they continued to let her do it. It just None of this makes sense in my mama's heart. None of it. This is for the exigent search warrant for his cloud, his Google, his Instagram, and all of that things. So, Stearns was not going to get away with this. He had all of this in his cloud. Again, child gross people, why are you saving this stuff? I don't get it. You are going to get caught. They have, internet matrix neo ninjas looking for you guys. This is where they found another video with evidence of the car and where it was going. There are a lot of incident reports, there are a lot of supplemental reports, but it does make me very impressed that, again, this is their job. This is, what they're supposed to do. But we rarely see, or at least in the last couple cases, we haven't seen the greatest reliability that these, standard procedures will be taken. Now, this is the supplemental report where we found the surveillance footage. On March 1st, 2024, Orange County Sheriff's Office violent crime detective Leonard Jones was tasked with assisting this investigation. Now, he received a short briefing to detail the latest of the investigation, and he responded to the area of Destination Parkway and John Young Parkway to canvass for evidence. Now, during that time, he had responded to a Holiday Inn Club Vacations, and upon arrival, he made contact with the business corporate facility senior manager, who allowed Jones to review the surveillance footage. Yeah, I saw that. And the fact that Stearns worked for Disney, the jokes flippin' flapjack right themselves. But they're really dark, and I don't feel like joking about them. But daggone Disney, do better. Now, according to the surveillance footage, Jones discovered at approximately 9:40 the target video, or the Lincoln, turned into the above business's property from area or Emissary Avenue, and then proceeded to park in their parking garage. Now, at about 9:41, the vehicle arrived at the top level of the parking lot, then backed into a parking space. At 9:42, a fair-skinned male appeared to be wearing a dark hat, reddish shirt, and tan pants, and exited the vehicle from the driver's seat, walked to the back, and opened the trunk. He then walked to the front passenger side of the vehicle, opened the door, and proceeded to carry Madeline to the trunk of the vehicle. All this happened and was done by 9:44. And then he entered the driver's seat and drove away. And he was seen, leaving the business's property. This man had to plead guilty. I mean, he was all the guilty. Like, the only thing we don't have on video is him dumping the body, which honestly, just all the guilties. And I'm glad he pled. I wish he would have stayed effing silent. But that's the last statement he's going to make to the public. Now, this is the search warrant that allowed them to go get the photographs. This is where, they started looking. They said, hey, do we need to get a search warrant or can we look at your phone? And, Stearns is like, YOLO, look at my phone. I'm fine. On February 27th, through law enforcement resources, I observed a silver Lincoln with Florida license plates traveling through multiple locations in Orange and Osceola County, Florida. Now, the silver Lincoln was registered to Stearns' father, but was primarily used by, jobless Stearns. Now, on February 28th, 2024, KPD Detective Igler provided additional information regarding the location of, Stearns' vehicle as it traveled through St. Cloud and Osceola County. On February 28th, I was served a search warrant for, something, and assisted Orange County Sheriff's Office Forensic Unit in searching the apartment. Now, simultaneously during the search, detectives were receiving photographs and videos that were on Stearns' phone, where basically they saw all the evidence and they got the, sheets and clothes that were photographed in the photos. They had him dead to rights. I mean, I am very glad he pled so the victims can put this part of the process of learning to deal with grief behind them. You're not getting closure. You're just shutting one of the many, waves of grief down. It doesn't go away. Your life grows around it, but not at first. And it takes a long time, and everyone's going to be different. Now, there were numerous clothing items, towels, bedding that was located in the apartment that were shown on the videos. It should be noted prior to the search of Stearns' apartment, I was advised that there were photographs located on his phone that appeared to record his the woman that talked at the victim impact statements, the roommate that was learning to speak English, and Maddie was trying to learn to speak Spanish. He also, in his disgusting grossness, decided to film her in secret. So he was watching her when she slept, things like that. Now, while at the apartment, I was able to utilize his cell phone to recreate the angle of the contents of the photograph by placing his cell phone under the crack of her particular door. I photographed both the placement of his cell phone and uploaded it to evidence.com. Now, on March 1st, 2024, I assisted Detective Taylor Heller in downloading and conducting an initial review of the Google search warrant, return of the Google account belonging to Stearns. Now, during my initial review, I observed multiple photographs in the return, which I observed to be located on Stearns' cell phone. Now, on March 4th, that evidence was handed over to Police Detective Mark Morris, and it was on a hard drive. All right. So on Wednesday, February 2024, Detective Andrew Calisi with the Orange County Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit investigated in a missing juvenile case. Now, he was tasked with authoring historical phone orders for the mother, Stearns, and Madeline. Below are the phone numbers. We're not getting into that. Now, once historical phone orders were authorized, all orders were reviewed and approved by the Honorable Judge Whitehead. Now, once the orders were approved, they were submitted to phone companies with the assistance of Florida, legal services or what have you. Now, on Wednesday, February 28th, 2024, the detective, along with Orange County Sheriff's Office sex crime detective Luis Acosta, interviewed Jennifer. This interview was conducted at Orange County Sheriff's, central building. This interview was audio recorded and uploaded to evidence.com. Now, the following is a synopsis of the interview. It should be noted that Detective Calisi did not conduct an entire interview. After a few questions, he stopped the interview and waited for detectives from the Kissimmee Police Department. During the interview, Jennifer confirmed that she lives, that Madeline lives with her and her boyfriend of approximately 7 years, corrotated dumpster water Stearns. Now, as the interview continued, she stated that on rare occasions, which X to doubt, Madeline and Stearns would sleep in the same bed. Now, according to Jennifer, the reason for this is so she could get some sleep because sometimes all three of them sleep in the same bed. Do what now? Like, I've heard of co-sleeping. I've heard of family beds. I do not like it. My husband and I are, bedroom divorced, and it has been great. He has his own bed that is soft as snot. Well, he likes a really soft bed. I like a really firm bed. So, he is back in his comfort zone. I have my comfort zone. I don't get the family bed. I have done that, y'all. I have, you know, had every, toddler kid sleep with me when they weren't feeling good. And any parent will tell you that somehow this smallish being of only about 3 feet will kick your behind off of a king size bed. So it's not my jam. I'm not judging people that do it. I do know it's a practice that works for some families. It's just not my jam. That being said, no family should accept, a mother's significant other sleeping with their pubescent child. Just no. Just no, no, and no. Now, she also confirmed with the detective that she and, Stearns had been intimate. Now, detective presented her with various images that were recovered from Stephen's cell phone. Now, I will say this interview, I am going to do some curse words because I'm going to finish this here with this page. And then next Monday, we are going to get into the Stearns interview at the police station, and then we'll get into Jen's interview. Now, Jen's interview gets a little confrontational because she is incredibly defensive for Stearns. She calls her daughter the body. Look, I read her as filth as such. She was defending the man that abused and unalived her daughter. She was like, is Stephan gonna get in trouble? Now, I know someone in the comments is gonna say she was grieving and in shock. I'm sure it's gonna be Jen McCabe, like the shock and the horror. Jen. So that being said, none of this. Look, I'm just going to need curse word donations. That's all I'm saying, because I doubt that those streams are going to be monetized because I have words. That's why I'm entitling today or these kind of streams, the Petty Express Off the Rails. I am making an intro for that. These are harder cases. I'm going to say cursey words. We're going to have kitten breaks. Yeah, Jem, I believe she even brought up that she was worried about a Woody Allen sort of situation. Now, that has never crossed my mind. And if you are having thoughts that there could be a Woody Allen situation, why are you allowing that grown adult male around your child? If you have even an inkling of a worry, why are you not protecting your child? Now, the first image was a hand placed on a behind. Now, after viewing the image, she identified that hand belonging to Stearns. Next, the detective showed a close-up photo of a male schmeckle. Now, she viewed the picture but was unable to identify the schmeckle in a lineup. He presented another image of a schmeckle pulled over a pair of jeans, and again, she viewed the image and identified the schmeckle as belonging to, Stephan. Now, she believed that this was his schmeckle based on the clothing and the blanket near said schmeckle. I cannot believe we fucking have to do schmeckle, lineups. But if it gets these monsters off the street, I say we do them. Now, a few moments later, the detective paused the interview and waited for the other police department detectives to respond to the interview to continue. Oh, Fun Diane, I say this as a joke. Guys, your support, your watching me, your subbing is so much more important than, your breadstick money, as Megan Fox says. I never want your ramen noodle grocery money. It is hard out there. I go grocery shopping. I know things are more expensive. I appreciate the likes and the subs, but I also like doing this, even if I didn't get paid. Now, okay, truth in advertising. One day I do want to make this channel something that I can help Mr. Mo with bills and, take some pressure off of him and save up and take my family on a nice vacation and say, "Hey, I did that." But, you know, it's not a big deal. It helps me on really bad days. It's kind of like my therapy. Unfortunately, yeah, but I hope that you get, that cyst taken care of. I know it's been bothering you for a long time. You've been doing so excellent in trying to get, uh, be better to your body, make good food choices, work out. I do need to talk to you about the yoga. I think I'm in a place where I can start the yoga program that you guys were talking about, but I can't for the life of me remember. It's one where you can do it in bed and it's for handy capable. Well, thank you, Fun Diane. I appreciate it. You are a deacon in the Church of Mo. I still don't have my 501c3 though, so we're just winging it with taxes. Now, this is where this particular detective kind of leaves. So he's the one that kind of starts this conversation. Oh, thanks. Let me write that down on my whiteboard of truth. Thank you, Fun Diane. Yeah, I think I'm at a place where I can actually do some yoga because Mr. Mo's room is a bit smaller. So thank you. So he basically kind of set up because detectives, some of them tend to be able to read people. I think that they had an inkling she knew, but they were still trying to ease her into the knowledge that not only is her child gone, but she'd also been systematically, abused. They were trying to meet her halfway. Now, knowing what I know now about sort of the sleeping and everything, I wouldn't have bothered. I think she knew, allegedly in Minecraft. And this is them just going to the school and canvassing areas, towing the vehicle, and getting in contact with all those people, writing it down and document. Now, there was an interview with a woman who worked with Stearns through Disney. She explained that their relationship had become intimate around December 2022 and had ended in May 2023. Now, during this time, this woman said that Stearns told her he had separated from his girlfriend. She stated that Stearns told her that although he was separated from his girlfriend, he still slept at their residence, specifically in the bed with, I'm guessing, Maddie or Jennifer. It's redacted. I don't know. Now, Stearns justified this behavior by saying he needed to cuddle with her so she could, Maddie, fuck him. No, you wanted to be a gross, disgusting human being and film yourself so you had like freaking trophies. This man, look, like y'all know I have revenge coming on deer, but I could not imagine, putting the deer up on my wall. I would probably use the venison, and this is an unlikely thing because I've never learned to hunt and can't shut my mouth to be quiet. Now, She further recalled a conversation she'd had with Stern where he told her he woke up in bed with Maddie with a schmerection, but and had to turn around to bed. No, how about you get out of the bed? Now, she felt that the comments that Stern made to her about sleeping with a minor were inappropriate, and she stopped talking to him shortly after they were made. I wish you would have called someone, ma'am. I know you didn't probably want to get involved, didn't want to, cause problems, but if you hear something like that, say something. Say something to the mom. Detective Ramirez and I were tasked with contacting someone at a possible address of there. Now, they were greeted by so-and-so's wife. They invited them into the home and agreed to speak to them. He was described as a close friend of Stern, and his daughters was best friends with Maddie. Now, he said that his family had moved to Colorado but flew back after learning that Maddie was missing and had no real information on this case. But they did agree to be. Well, I'm glad you got a diagnosis. I know that for a long time they wouldn't give you any diagnosis. And the dumb thing is that we get really excited, like, I got a diagnosis. But there's a realization like, oh crap, they know what it is. Now we've got to figure out what to do. So I'm glad that they were able to figure it out, because I know it's been bothering you for a while. And hopefully once you get through this, next 3 weeks, it'll be gone and you can be pain-free and, looking out for ridiculous, redonkulous drivers as you and other truck drivers keep us supplied with our random nonsense we buy at Walmart. Now, this is going to be a supplemental report of them going through, Maddie's room. During the search, Orange County Forensics was present and photographed the residence, collected numerous items of clothing and bedding, which were identified as being in contact with the victim during grossness. Now, most of the items were collected from the downstairs divider, temporary room, the living room, and some additional items were collected from the upstairs room, identified as number 4 on the door. Now, after leaving the residence, the roommate arrived and requested some items from her bedroom, and she was escorted up there, and told that she could. Now, at approximately 4:40, I was notified that the Orange County Sheriff's Office emergency response team members had located a glove in a wooded area to the north of the apartment. They collected the gloves, and the gloves were approximately 30 feet into the wood line on the ground. One glove was balled up inside of the other. They photographed the gloves and placed them in an evidence envelope. Now, at around 5, the forensic manager called and notified that they had located some of Madeline's belongings in the trash, to include a white Croc, just one. Now, the one, Croc was a woman's size 8 and a single left shoe sized 5 to 7, which matched the right size 5'7". Is 5'7" a brand, or because 5'7" is not. Congrats. That is really awesome. Fundian, you are doing the work and, putting in and seeing the results. And I'm so doggone proud of you. I'll have to talk to you about the Mayo Clinic. I am wondering if I should go, but I don't know how one does, or if they get you recommended or referred. And welcome, Flux Raiders. We are going through the incident report, kind of the full file of the start of the Madeline Soto case to the end, or where they found things. Now, next week, we will be looking at Stephen Stern's interview. We will come back to this. It is 200 pages. We did get through a fair amount because a lot of them are blank. We are on 103 pages, so that works. But we're just going through, and Flux, you'll be amazed. They have incident reports and, photos and all sorts of things. It's amazing. It's like they really gave a crap instead of people in Canton. Canton, go to Florida. Normally, I wouldn't say, go emulate Florida men, but go emulate Florida, detective men, because they apparently seem to be doing a pretty good job, at least in this case. I can't speak for all times. On February 28th, 2024, Detective Kyle Cole, was tasked with collecting surveillance video regarding this investigation. Oh God, it's the quest to the vape shop. The vape shop. He spoke to an employee who stated the owner was at a different shop and had access to the video security system. I went to the store located on South Orange Avenue and met with John and provided him with an evidence submission link via Axon Capture. Now, using that link, John uploaded the surveillance clip from, the South John Young Parkway store depicting a white male wearing a blue shirt and black hat entering the store. So this is interesting because what time did they say this happened? So this was around 10 o'clock. So this is the timeline I'm thinking about. Crap. Find red, find blue. All right. The whiteboard of truth is coming back out. Okay. So Stearns was photographed that day with a red shirt. Now, the red shirt is evident when he moved Maddie, when he got the tire wrong, and when he put things in the trash. But all of a sudden, when he gets back and goes and hangs out with Jen's mom, yes, we do. Yes, I do. But when he's back with Jen's mom, he's got the blue shirt on. So this man has changed in this time. And it's really good that they have the evidence. It's in color and that security footage is better. But insane. This man thinks no one's watching him. So he goes from, it pisses me off because in the space of not even a full effing morning, not even a full gosh darn morning where he even gets to 11:30 where it's socially acceptable to drink at a brunch. No, he discarded Maddie like trash and all of the things that she would have, taken to school, and got redressed and got his vape juice by 11 o'clock. There is something extraordinarily disturbing about the fact that he went to the vape shop like nothing happened after. He had to get his vape juice, had to get his Pokemon cards, couldn't forget that shit. No, he has responsibilities. Now, after collecting that particular surveillance footage, he was tasked to review images located on his phone by the Orange County Sheriff's Office Digital Forensic Unit. Now, upon reviewing the contents and grossness of his pictures and videos, I observed several pictures appearing to. He took pictures of Maddie. She is clearly identifiable, and he assaulted every sense of her innocence in every way you can. I'll just put it like that. And took pictures and videos of it. Now, these pictures were clearly of both of them. And again, we are reminded that his schmeckle is distinctive. Now, several other pictures, capture this distinctive schmeckle. And he was reviewing the photos and pictures and observing the different pieces of clothing, including, underwear, shirts, sheets, and blankets. Now, simultaneously at this time, detectives from the Orange County Sheriff's Office were executing a search warrant at, Stephan's home address. So his parents' address, because this man ain't got a job, ain't had an adulthood in a while. He is an adult kidult. And again, if you're a kidult, think about becoming a full-on adult. It's kind of, nice to be responsible and be away from your parents. That being said, I do understand economic times. I had to move back in with my mom. I am talking about the chronically in the basement, and your mom is, feeding you chicken nuggies, okay? I told my son, when you're 20, when you're 19, you should probably, look for other things to do if you're, or, things that you want to do when you grow up. He's like, yeah, I'm not living in your basement. It was like, thanks. I'll remember that. Now, oh, I'm sorry. I was confused since they did black this out. They actually did the search warrant on Jennifer's house where, Stearns had been staying. They also looked at the infotainment system. Again, I wish I didn't have to say that, but I do. In the Lincoln MKZ, and apparently they were able to do it without breaking, the entire, front part off. It's a miracle. So again, search warrants, incident reports. Who knew? Okay, so this is an interview. It looks like it's going to be of a minor, and it could possibly be the younger girl who was having a lot of trouble, putting down in words and not crying in her victim impact statement. It was the one where I believe it was over Zoom, so, no minor would be shown. My heart aches for her. I do hope that she is getting the help and support she needs. I can't imagine being a young child dealing with middle school and knowing my best friend was the victim of a monster. So I do hope she's getting help. I'm sure her parents are doing what they can for her, and she gets the support she needs to grieve. Now, she has been a best friend of Maddie since they've known each other every day since the 4th grade. She's also close with, Jen, the mother. Now, Maddie's never told her anything about running away, other than if she did, she would run away to the woods and find a place to stay. She didn't get along with her mom. Now, she had heard from another friend that Madeline's mom said she was going to kick her out of the house and disown her when she turned either 18 or 19. Now, she talked to, it looks like Stearns. And again, this is this is my alleged scenario. Again, not a doctorologist, not a, seasonologist, just a mom and an inside cat that likes to observe people. I truly do believe that Stearns groomed Maddie. It started off as, hey, this is a secret, and dads sometimes touch you, to show love. It started with cuddling and comfort, and I really think it ends with this monster taking our life. But I do believe that it started off fairly innocent, like, oh, you're having a bad dream. Let me, stay here. There are certain predators who hunt for single mothers with children. And I once was a single mother with children, and I was very terrified to date people because, I'm not only dating for myself, I'm dating for my children. I'm looking for someone who's not going to hurt them and not. So again, I can't tell you what to do. I don't pay your bills, but if you're a single mother or father, have very high standards about who you let around your kids. Have I always followed this practice? Was I a dumb 23-year-old single mother? Absolutely. Am I, by the grace of God, did neither myself or my children meet one of these monsters? Absolutely. But it haunts me at night what could have happened if I picked the wrong person. So I encourage you, if you're single and dating, I'm not telling you not to date. I'm not telling you to go out and, find your twin flame. Oh, but be very careful who you allow around your children. I think if we've learned anything about this case is that monsters wear a human mask and they look for weakness, and they are in fact, very keen predators. They find, weaknesses, and he found a perfect, hunting ground in Jen's house. Now she would talk to, Stearns every day, and they would also text every morning when she woke up. Now, the friend did think it was odd. Okay, so okay. In context, the friends would text each other every day. So she wasn't texting Stearns, she was texting her friend. Again, some of these sentences don't make sense until the next sentence when I can put it into context with all the redactions. But Maddie and her friend, like normal teenagers, text every morning when they woke up. And she did think it was odd that she didn't receive a call on Monday, February 26th. She thought, okay, maybe not. Now, she did call on the morning of February 26th because she hadn't gotten a text, but didn't get an answer. She further stated that Maddie had only mentioned her biological briefly, but she was always on call with her stepdad, Stearns. Now, Stearns and Maddie were always texting each other or talking on the phone. Maddie loved him and they were really close. Again, in context, in the aftermath, that's why I say I think Maddie thought that this was a normal relationship. And I mean, kind of like a romantic one, or maybe even a family dynamic one. But it is so incredibly off-putting, disgusting, and grates me down to my soul that this predator did this and violated the privacy of the roommate, everything. It's just, he is such a gross, disgusting human being, and he's exactly where he deserves to be. Now, she said that, Stearns was her mother's boyfriend, and he's been in her life for a very long time. Now, Stearns had recently moved out of the home, but visited often. We're very, very close. And she talks to, Stearns about 2 to 3 times on the week, but also texts him. Now, she usually talks to him on the phone in the afternoon or at night. And the friend described Stearns as very interested in, their lives, and they would tell them things about what was going on in school. Now, according to this friend, Maddie never disclosed that anything inappropriate was happening with Stearns. And she doesn't recall a time when Stearns had ever brought Maddie to school. Now, this was generally a Jennifer thing. So this was not his purview. And the fact that Jennifer slept in and did all of this stuff. And here's the other thing that bothers me about Jen, y'all. So Jen's like, woe is me, for I have to sleep. And she sends, her daughter and her boyfriend up to another room to snuggle, which, what the hell? What the actual fuck, y'all? But anyhoozle, now this heifer couldn't be bothered to wake up to take her child to, school, but she sure as hell got her ass up and got ready for her doctor's appointment and blood draw because it was important to maintain her health. Okay, Shanda Vander Ark, I'm glad you got your health care taken care of, but maybe if you'd been awake, maybe if you've been taking care of your job as a parent, and don't you even try to say, I have an autofibromyalgia. Heifer, I have CRPS. I don't put it out there. I don't whine about it. I do tell you guys when I'm having a bad pain day, mostly because I squirrel out and tend to tangent more. So I try to give y'all a warning. But if my kids need something, I'm there. Look, this is not a woe is me story, and I'm not trying to, sainthood or martyr myself because it was my daughter's graduation. I was going to be there. But my leg was screaming. I was in a lot of pain. It was loud. It was noisy. I was sitting on a, bleacher seat that was solid daggone wood. So I was in pain. Do you know what I didn't say the entire day or didn't tell anyone? That I was, because that was my daughter's day. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm the best parent. I am a hot mess mom. And, our relationships have changed a lot as I've changed. But nothing in this world is going to stop me from being with my kids. Okay, truth in advertising, there is a family canoe trip I will not be doing because Hagatha the leg does not like being splashed with water. But if I could go, I would. So it's not an excuse. And I say there are other parents that I know that are dealing with a lot of pain and still do everything for their kids. So it's not an excuse. We put on our big girl panties, no pants, pants are prison, and we take care of effing business because we're a mom. Now, if you're not ready to make that commitment that your life will never, ever be about you again, then become a parent. If you're not willing to accept that, that when you become a parent, your life becomes about that child, then you're not ready to be a parent. Because once that baby comes here, it becomes about them. In my opinion, I don't know. That's how I felt when I had a baby. Again, experiences may vary. That's my hot take. Now, normally, and she had never witnessed anything inappropriate between Stearns and Maddie. Now, normally Jen's mom or her grandparents would bring her to school, and she couldn't recall a time where Stearns had ever brought Maddie to school. Now, she did state that there are roommates that also live in the home with her and her mother, and she believes they are people that are close to the family but don't have enough money to live on their own. Now, the last time she talked to Maddie was on Sunday, February 25th, 2024, at her birthday party. It is a sad thing, but I hope Maddie had the best time out of her birthday. I hope that her last day was the most fun, wonderful day. And it's such a horrible, horrific thing to have to hope for. To have to hope that she had one solid, happy memory where people were focusing on her and not in a gross way and celebrating her and surrounded by love. That is one of the things that I try to keep in mind, that she had this great memory. But it's fool's gold kind of thought because we know where this ends. And it just sucks all the donkey. Now, the party took place at the grandparents' home, and neither Jen nor Stearns were in attendance at the party. Thank God. Thank God she got some time away from this monster to just be celebrated for being Maddie, for, being a good girl who may have ADHD, but who gives a rat's ass? Who doesn't? And was crafty and was sweet and had the most beautiful smile. Stearns, you messed up. You thought you could snuff out her light. The problem is you lit a match. So now every one of us who have been touched by this case have Maddie in our heart and are keeping her light alive. You may have taken out one flame, but you sparked a million others. So, congratulations, jackass. And I hope you have fun in Gen Pop. Adios, douchebag, drop the soap. Or don't, allegedly in Minecraft. Now, it was common for Maddie to kind of talk about, my kids do this too, like, oh my gosh, I got $40. And I remember that excitement of like, I have real money I can spend. I don't have to ask mom. Okay, they do have to ask mom because there is no slime in this house ever again. So they are not allowed to buy slime or anything incredibly stupid or, guidance is given when they're spending their money, not something ridiculous or stupid or, hazardous. But they generally are allowed. Like my middle son loves to get Takis. The blue ones too, so he always has blue fingers. He says he gets the blue because if his brothers steal them, he has evidence. I'm raising a detective. Now, she would talk about, what she got for her money, and she got mad at someone for not giving her money for her birthday and complained she didn't get enough. Now, she left the party at about 7 p.m. and didn't verbally, face to face or talking, speak. I couldn't get into my chiro and had to see the new guy. He's one of those jump on the table chiros. It was weird, but I definitely got my joints unjammed. Tinkerloo, I am pondering going to a chiropractor. Now, Mr. Mo loves chiropractors, has always gone to chiropractors. I am terrified of them. Something about them cracking your neck, the sound just terrifies me. Also, I'd have to be in close human contact with another person I'm not married to. Now, that being said, I'm generally not a touchy-feely person, so I don't mean that I'm not touchy-feely with Mr. Mo. We have 6 kids, okay? But I'm generally not okay, like, if I don't know you with you touching me, it's the thing that it's the barrier to me getting, a massage. I feel like I should know the person first, like, "Oh, you're gonna see me kind of, nudish. How are you doing? I'm a Sagittarius. Like, do you like meatloaf?" I just feel like there should be a little introduction so I know you before. But I'm a weirdo. This is why I stay in my house. Now, once they were home, Maddie told her it would be so they were just texting, and Maddie was kind of letting off steam and saying, it'd be cool if they ran into the woods to build a house. Now, Jen never, or she's saying that, she didn't read this as a real sort of, I am going to run away, I'm going to leave my house. She never talked about any ideations or anything like that. Now, the friend did say that Maddie allegedly told their mutual friend that when she turns, 13, she's going to leave the house and never come back. Now, I do believe, and I don't know the background of the biological father, but I do believe that 13 was going, oh my gosh, you guys, 13. All right, I've had a brain cognition. Now, 13 is an important year. If you remember what the biological father was saying, and again, I don't know how much of this is true, but it makes sense that Maddie was taken, or he took Maddie when she turned 13, because 13 was the year that she could determine whether she wanted to stay with her mother or go with her father or someone else. 13 is the year where kids have a lot more input on child guardianship. Now, maybe she said, I'm 13, I'm going to go live with my dad, and I'm going to tell him everything. Because we've always wondered why. And this is speculation. I'm not saying this is concrete, and I'm not one of those YouTubers who's going to tell you I've done solved it. But this is, the brain, the epiphany that I've had just now. Because the father did say, and again, I don't know how true this is, that Maddie was interested in moving in with him. And he can, Stearns can control Jen. Jen seems like she's in her own world. She's oblivious. But if Maddie goes to her father, to anyone else, and she starts saying, oh yeah, Stearns sleeps with me and he cuddles, do you think Bio Dad's going to let that go? Or that's going to be a phone call to the police? That's my speculation. I'm not sure if it's true, and we'll never know. And I'm not going to interview Stearns to find out, because evil's going to evil. And Tinkerloo, Mo, just to tell you, or tell the chiro that you're apprehensive about your neck and they'll be extra gentle. I found that my spine being in better shape definitely eases my CRPS. Yeah, I'm getting to, this year has been freaking awful. So I'm getting to the point where I'm willing to try things that are outside of my comfort zone. Now, I did tell Mr. Mo, God love Mr. Mo. He is somewhat, I know we are on a tangentation. He is a little oblivious, and I need to get more direct when I ask him something. But this is a talk for another stream. Let's get back onto this. So basically, she at 13 said she was going to leave the house and never come back. Now, if she has been talking to her father and he's been saying, hey, when you turn 13, the courts are going to be much more, willing to listen to your personality, your personal desires about who you want to be with, that kind of thing. If Maddie pushed back, if she said, I'm leaving, I'm 13, I'm going to my dad's, I could see that being a catalyst. Now, she says she also speaks to different random people through Roblox. She is unaware if Maddie ever met any people in 3D life that she had talked to on Roblox. She's unaware if she's ever engaged in, inappropriate conversations with older men or women. Maddie's never disclosed anything about sending or receiving inappropriate photos. She gave the Roblox name, the Instagram name, but doesn't know, what that password and stuff was. Now she also has a user or a YouTube Shorts account, which I think you have to be 14 to do, but I'm not going to turn you in or nothing. In fact, I probably shouldn't have said nothing, but she's not my child. If they're okay with her having a channel, I'm not going to say nothing. Now, she said that they would text each other and it was normal to text message on their phone throughout the day. Now, she was unaware if Maddie had any other or alternate like WhatsApp or Signal or other random matrixy stuff on her computer or her phone. According to her, she also didn't have a boyfriend, but had a crush on a boy that went to school with them. Now, she claims that he doesn't like Maddie and would ignore her text messages. They also don't hang out with each other. Now, she didn't disclose that she wanted to skip school on February 26th and has not asked Maddie to skip school with her. She only knows that Maddie took, medication for ADHD and possibly bipolar. And she described Maddie as sometimes being impulsive, having mood swings, things like that. And that she took her medication, or that she last took her medication on February 14th, but told everyone about not taking them. She told her she liked not being on her medication because she had more energy when she didn't take it. And she's not aware of her risky, participating in any risky behavior, any inappropriate behaviors. She didn't know of Maddie hanging out with anyone older outside of school or, Snapchatting, running away. She only knows that Maddie is close to Stearns and talks to him a lot. Now, she stated that, Maddie's mother called her during the evening of February 26, 2024, and asked if she was there because, Maddie hadn't turned up. Now, Maddie's mother told her that she last saw, Maddie at 8:45 so this is where, again, the story changes. Now, Jen is saying that she dropped off Maddie. Now, it goes from she to we. You'll notice that in the interrogation video, so keep an eye out for that. But there's also a lot of distancing language like we or group. It's never her taking ownership of stuff. But in this particular situation, Jen said to the friend that she had dropped her off, that she saw her walking away. That Madeline wanted to be dropped off a little outside of school. And this friend's like, no, that's not something she ever indicated she wanted. And she was typically dropped off in the car lane. Now, she stated that her father went into the woods behind the school during the evening of February 26th in an attempt to try to locate Maddie. Now, this is from the counselor at Madeline's school. She was a 7th grade counselor at, the middle school. She met Maddie at the beginning of the school year when she was beginning to transfer the ESE service department. This might be the department like we have them here, like the occupational therapist, speech therapist, the different accommodations you can have if you have ADHD, We call them an IEP in Indiana, but it might be called something else in Florida. But it's basically sort of guidelines and goals for students and acknowledging their different ways of learning or what might be, helpful in understanding how they learn, what behavioral issues they might have, what occupational therapy and medical issues they might have. Now, she said that she was told that Maddie had ADHD and had a hard time focusing. She also displayed anxiety and panic attacks. So the counselor would, conduct check-ins with Maddie at the school and met with her approximately 6 times since the beginning of the school year. Now, typically, Madeline will come in and tell her feelings of being panicked and overwhelmed. Of course, this little girl has anxiety. She has a man preying on her. She is never safe. And even if she construed this as them being in a relationship, it's still abuse. It's still taking the safety away from you. I can't imagine a young girl who already is dealing with her body changing and different things and how they need privacy, how they need to, deal with the feelings of this changing body. Again, I grew D's overnight, not kidding. And then to have absolutely no space to be, you know, have your very being, assaulted. Of course she's gonna have anxiety. Her brain is trying desperately to keep her safe and hypervigilant probably. She probably was overstimulated. Allegedly in Minecraft, I am not a doctorologist, but I could imagine that would be absolutely devastating to your mental health. Now she would tell her, about the anxiety and being overstimulated by being at school. She also said she had things she was dealing with at home, including, fighting with her mother. Her mother would get upset because Madison was forgetful and didn't clean up like she's expected to. Now, she disclosed that when her mother yells at her, it makes her feel overstimulated and she can't respond in the way she wants to. They try to discuss strategies on how to calm herself down and talk to her mom when she's calm to tell her how she's feeling. Now, during each of their check ins in December, February, and January, Maddie reported that things were improving at home and things were better at school. She reported that her mother's boyfriend was living in the home and she didn't like him because he was weird. When pressed about, why she felt it was weird, she claimed he ate all their food and hangs out in their living room and it makes her feel uncomfortable. Now, she reported in December that her mom's boyfriend was moving out of the home and that made her happy. Now, Maddie never disclosed having any ideations, any sort of thoughts or, feelings in that direction. And she never disclosed any relationship dynamics between her mother and Stearns. She also never disclosed anything, inappropriate happening between her mother or her mother's boyfriend and her. Now, Jen's mom told the therapist that Madeline was, or not Madeline, Madeline, was seeing the therapist weekly, and her grades appeared to be stable and improving since December when she started to report things were getting better at home and school. Yeah, he moved out. He moved out. But he was still coming in at night to cuddle. So he got the best of both worlds. He doesn't have to deal with Jen and be a boyfriend, but he still gets his prey. Absolutely insufferable that this happened to her. Their last check-in, sadly, was on February 6th and 2024, and she reported she was really happy with school and her mom. This is probably her teacher. He stated he's a teacher. Madeline never discussed her home life or any personal life. She never disclosed any information about anything going on, never expressed feelings about ideations, and didn't have any changes in her behavior. She appeared to be happy and would participate in class. He described her as helpful, and there hadn't been any change in her personality or behavior since the beginning of school. All right, so this is more interviews with the teachers, and then I'm probably going to finish this page. Just a reminder and a quick self-promotion that I'm trying to get better at. I do have a stream with Shizzy. Mo After Dark is coming back. We are going to be on Mondays doing a series on cults. So if you would like to help us or join us as we dive into twin flames, which is something I barely covered, but holy dongle, what in the hell was going on there? Now, that being said, it will start at 6 p.m. Central Time. We will be talking about cults. Now, on Wednesday, we will come over to that, will be on his channel. On Wednesday, we'll come over to my channel and we'll be going through some of the Delphi, transcripts that are now out. And I'll be giving a short, well, a semi short. Y'all know Delphi. It has got more lore than Dune, but a little bit of a too long didn't read backstory on the case. And then we will dive into some of the documents there. Now, somewhere in between everything, I would like to dive into the Koberger documents as well, but those might have to be videos. When I get up in the morning and it's quiet, so I have some time there, but I'm not sure. Working on the schedule. ADHD is interesting with time management. So this was an interview with the teacher. Let's see. She is the second period. Yes. Okay, it is a she. I was just making sure. Second period PE teacher said that she knew Maddie pretty well and that they had had some interactions. Now, she stated that Maddie hangs out with probably her friend in most classes, but she also sees her with other girls in classes. But that class has another PE teacher assigned. You know, she never had any issues with anyone. And she always seemed very anxious anytime she needed to ask or want something. She brought a buddy with her. That makes me wonder what kind of attitude she was met with at home. If she's that timid, if she's that afraid to ask for something, there has to have been, at least in my thought process, a pattern of times where she asked something and she was either rebuffed, yelled at, or something bad happened, to where she is terrified of asking for something because she doesn't know how the adults are going to react. Now, she recalled how she was shy around authority figures, but not with everybody. And she got Student of the Week for February 16th and was nominated by someone for doing something excellent, although she wasn't exactly sure what Madison had done. Madeline, daggone it. Now, she recalled during fitness testing at the beginning of the year, she struggled because of her asthma. And she walked to her locker so she could get her inhaler. And, she was told she could sit out if she needed to. She recalled how occasionally her friends would tell her that, Maddie needed to go to a counselor and she would go with friends. Now, she didn't know why, she was going to the counselor. She had not seen any recent changes in behavior. And when she heard the description of her clothing, she recognized it as something she always wears. Now, she didn't see any sign of any sort of depression or ideations. Now, she doesn't dress out in class, and she's not sure why, because she doesn't feel comfortable undressing. Because it's the one time she can say no and people listen. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking that the only time that she could, have bodily autonomy in her life was when she chose not to get dressed for freaking gym class. It burns my biscuits, y'all. It burns my biscuits. Now, the police ideation is self-deletion thoughts. I try not to say the words because YouTube doesn't like, independent creators using certain words. So I try not to say them. I do say ideation as sort of an illusion or verbal Creole or kind of fill in for that word. Sorry, y'all. Taking off my leg warmer. Mo's undressing on camera, like warm her off. Sometimes I can tolerate them, sometimes I can't. And I am getting a couple pair more of slipper socks. Those things are the bomb, and I can't find any of mine. Back on to this. Now, they did look at her locker and tried to find, anything that was in there. She hadn't really met her mother, this particular PE teacher. Now, another teacher was interviewed. And again, the depth of investigation is impressive. I am very glad that, every single detective, every teacher was asked, hey, did she change her personality? Did she change anything? Did you notice anything? Now, this was her first period intensive reading class teacher. She thought she knew, Maddie pretty well since she'd been in her class since the fall of 2023. And she told me that Maddie was on her door decorating team, which she was nominated for Student of the Week for. She told me how, Maddie or other students would stay late or come in early to work on a project at the end of January, and that the theme of the door was spreading kindness and love. Look, we're 24 people, 25 including me, and thank you, lurkers, for lurking. This is a safe chat if you'd like to dip your toe in. It's smaller, but it works. Let's make it a mission today to do one act of kindness or spread the love in Maddie's name. Just like Madison Mogan, there's Maddie's Day. Let's all go do kindness in the name of people of innocence who are gone too soon. Let's make our small sphere of the world a better place. And when all those little small circles were, merged together, it will have made the world a better place. You don't have to go out and do something gigantic. I make it a goal every time I go into Walmart to give out 5 compliments since I'm an inside cat introvert / extrovert when I'm here. But I make it my goal to, make 5 people smile when I'm out. And it could be just something like, hey, I love your t-shirt. Your shoes are awesome. But let's spread kindness for all of these people who are no longer here. Now, again, she didn't show any mental health issues or any warning signs. And, her involvement in the door decorating made their, relationship a little closer than maybe other teachers. Now, she believes that, Maddie's also friends with another person, and a 8th grade student helper in the same period was not sure if Sarah was close to Maddie. Now, she told her she was aware of, what happened from the media release and recalled how she was reading a graphic novel and that, she was alarmed that kissing was in the book. Now, additionally, it is hard to read this. Blank told me that she heard Maddie and her friends talking about Lady Gaga lyrics, and they were alarmed about its smexual meaning. Now, Maddie never made disclosures of any kind of abuse, and she didn't believe that she'd come to so the mom didn't even show up to open house. Are you kidding me? And she'd never, seen any depressive or any sort of noticed. Now, she told me she was shocked to hear about Maddie's conversation about living in the woods. She stated that her grade was low in her class, that she had a D in every quarter, and that Maddie would work in class, was not able to kind of complete things. It is a common problem for younger children or people with ADHD. We're really good at starting things, not so much on the completion part, because our brain goes, this is boring. We've done this enough. I want to think about the other 1,233 things that are floating through my brain. It takes, personal accountability and discipline, but you are able to complete things if you put your mind to it. But it is also hard to do that when you're raging with hormones, you don't have a safe home life, and you're going through puberty and in flippin' flapjack middle school. Middle school is the effing devil, and middle school girls are the worst. They just are. I was one. I know it. When my girls would come to me with middle school problems, I'm like, I'm sorry, middle school is evil, and middle school girls are also evil. Like, it just is like a point blank fact that middle school sucks all the sack. It just does. You could not pay me enough to go back to middle school. Although my inner child has dreamed of meeting some of my middle school bullies, uh, and she shows no chill. I think my inner child might have some inner rage. That's why I don't let her out too much. Now, she hadn't seen any shifts in behavior, but believed that her behavior had improved since the door decorating competition. And again, I don't blame these teachers. If these teachers had full classes, if, Maddie was doing her best to mask what was going on at home, and let's say she started the school year in t-shirts and then she started transitioning once, she got very uncomfortable with her changing body and her home environment and the fact that she had no privacy. She started to wear more loose, baggy hoodies. That's the style. That's the style. And, her anxiety, she always had it. So I don't blame these teachers. I mean, do I wish that someone would have seen something and, said something? Absolutely. But we are looking back on this with 2020 hindsight. And we can't armchair quarterback these teachers or the extended family. We can sure as hell, Monday quarterback, freaking Jen's actions. But I am going to stop at the end of this page to get some lunch. I didn't realize it had been almost 2.5 hours. See, when you're having fun and reading, and exposing monsters, time flies. And I'm just so glad that the thunderstorms have moved on for today. Now tomorrow's going to be a doozy, so fingers crossed. Now, this was the 7th period English class, and he had Maddie for a student since fall of 2023. Now, he said he had a great relationship with Maddie and he thinks that she likes him. He described her as a quieter person who sometimes does her work and sometimes has sleepy days, where she comes in and puts her head down and does nothing, which he said not a lot of kids do. He told me he only keeps academic tabs on, what the kids are doing. He doesn't really, delve into the other things, and says that they've only had conversations about about her grades. Now, he never had conversations about her home life, and he didn't meet her parents, even though the mother was a substitute for him in October of 2023. Now, he hadn't seen any recent changes in her behavior and noted that she didn't seem to have as many sleepy days as the beginning. So again, speculation station. Stearns is learning how much to dose Madeline. Or not God dang it, Madison. No, Madeline is right. This is why I need to stop. I can't even remember the daggone name. I'm terrible with names. I just am. That's why I give everyone a nickname. That's why I love YouTube, because everyone has a nickname and I can remember nicknames. Now, names, nickname, it's locked in the vault. I speculate, again, loud speculation underlined, that he was learning how much to give her. So he started out giving her too much. But then he learned doses. He learned how to, regulate, allegedly in Minecraft. That's what I think. I think that it was, a testing kind of, too much, just right. At least that's my guess. I'm not a doctorologist. I'm not a detectivologist. Do go to the community tab on the page. I do have a poll up. So the next Momster Mom that we cover is up to you guys. I am a little lorried out, but I will be, happy to cover our favorite Mighty Morphin Mormon. But I also have the Shanda Vander Ark case. It is a monstrous case, but she is a monster we can roast. So let me know what you'd like to cover. Fingers, toes, nerves crossed. I should be able to put on my very first Mo in the Craft End craft stream tomorrow, possibly. Like, I think. Hopefully. But that's kind of what's coming up. Don't forget that I will be on Shizzy's channel tonight at 6 p.m. and we will be going over, at first we're going to be going over, there are 2 documentaries on twin flames, one from Amazon and one from Netflix, and we are going to go over the episodes in those first. And then we're going to dig in. We focused on twin flames because in Michigan, where twin flames is based, the Attorney General is starting an investigation. So this might be the beginning of the end for Twin Flames universe. But I'm also not very confident that Michigan's going to do anything because it's Michigan. And they've got, what is it? Gretchen Whitmer. So, it's a roll of the dice. I hope that if it is found to, and y'all, I didn't know much about this, but just delving a little bit in, it's all the culty. Like, yeah. I don't get how people get sucked into this. I really, really don't. But we will be covering this. And thank you, as always, so much for sharing your time with me. If you haven't already, please do all the YouTube-y things that people ask you to do at the end. I always feel weird telling people to like, subscribe, and share. So I just say do the YouTube-y things. And I will see you in a bit. Remember, be kind to yourself, kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire. Because kindness no longer equals doormat. And there are monsters with human faces. You might run into a Stearns and you need to have all the curse words ready. Bye, you guys.